Hi guys, and welcome back to Petrolhead Podcasts. The Tesla Model 3 has been one of the most popular new cars in 2024 thanks to the extensive refresh Tesla gave to the vehicle that greatly enhanced its competitiveness and appeal in addition to attractive financing offers and the ability to qualify for the federal EV tax credit. But is the updated Model 3 really the best compact EV sedan you can buy, especially considering that Tesla's competitors are also coming up with very attractive financing and leasing offers? Join me as I go through an in-depth comparison to give you the answer. Today, we will be comparing the new Model 3 Long Range rear-wheel drive against two other excellent EV sedans, namely the 2025 BMW i4 eDrive 40 and the 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 6 Limited rear-wheel drive. Firstly, in terms of exterior styling, I think the Model 3 looks good, with very effective changes to an already attractive design. Up front, the slim headlights reminiscent of the lights on the second-generation Tesla Roadster look good, and the lower hood makes the car look more sporty than before. However, the very plain lower bumper is not the most interesting design and a step backwards compared to the previous model in my opinion. On the side, nothing has changed, and the Model 3 retains the sleek look of the previous model, with highlights such as the flush door handles and the sloping glasshouse. The roofline, however, feels slightly too bloated compared to the BMW. Round back, the revised taillights with a C shape and the Tesla script on the trunk lid contribute to a more upmarket design than before. Overall, the Model 3 looks modern and minimalist, although the design does feel generic. Moving on to the BMW i4, and the design upfront is attractive, with the updated arrow-shaped daytime running lights for 2025, which look very sharp, as well as the vertical side air vents. The big grille has been revised with a new mesh design for the upper part and a lower part that blends into the side air intakes, which visually makes it feel significantly more cohesive and less offensive than earlier versions of the i4 and 4 series. On the side, the i4 looks good, with a sloping roofline and smooth surfacing. Round back, the i4 can now be had with the optional laser tail lights introduced by the M4 CSL, which look fantastic, but otherwise the i4 retains its classy design. The Hyundai IONIQ 6 looks very unique for a sedan. The front end looks good, with an interesting lower bumper design and good-looking headlights. The side profile is very distinctive, with a sporty roofline and very smooth surfacing, although I think the roofline, like the Tesla, is a little too high for a sedan. Round back, the taillights look good with a pixelated wraparound design, and the spoiler that integrates the brake light looks unique too. Overall, for styling, I think the best-looking vehicle is the i4, which feels more upmarket than the other two cars and has the best proportions. In second is the Hyundai, which has good front and rear end designs, but the overall proportions are not as good as the BMW. In last place is the Model 3, which has a sleek and attractive but rather plain design. Moving on to interiors, and the Tesla Model 3 boasts a significantly revised cabin with highlights, including the new integrated ambient lighting, the larger 15.4-inch touchscreen with slimmer bezels, the new design steering wheel, an 8-inch display for rear seat passengers, and redesigned door cards. The general ambiance is good, with an extremely minimalist design, and material quality throughout is also good, with soft touch plastics even on the lower parts of the door bins and a lot of fabric, suede and leatherette in places you would usually expect to find hard plastic. However, the lack of any sort of gauge cluster and head-up display, the absence of indicator stalks, no sunshade over the glass roof, and no 360-degree camera available, and no support for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto remain major compromises that the other two cars do not require you to make. Standard specification in the long-range rear-wheel drive is decent, with heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, adaptive cruise control, wireless charging, and a 9-speaker audio system. The Model 3 has impressive practicality, with a maximum of 42.7 inches of front row legroom, 34.5 inches of rear legroom, a second row shoulder room of 54.2 inches, and a class-leading cargo capacity of 21 cubic feet, plus a 3.1 cubic feet frunk. The BMW i4 features a subtle interior upgrade for 2025, with redesigned and more minimalist-looking air vents in addition to a new steering wheel. The general design represents a good balance of modern technology and traditional controls, with a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, a 14.9-inch infotainment screen, and physical controls for drive mode selection, infotainment shortcuts, and volume adjustment. Material and build quality are both very high, although there are more hard-touch plastics, especially around the center console, than the Tesla. Standard specification in the i4 is good, with ambient lighting, heated seats, a sunroof, a 9-speaker audio system, power trunk. The i4's practicality is less impressive than the Model 3, with 41.5 inches of front row legroom, 34.2 inches of rear legroom, and a maximum shoulder room of 54.3 inches in the rear, which is on par with the Tesla. The i4 has a trunk with a 10 cubic feet capacity and no frunk is available. The Hyundai IONIQ 6 has a well-designed cabin that shares a lot of common elements with the IONIQ 5. Up front, the IONIQ 6 has a twin-screen layout featuring two 12.3-inch displays, column-mounted gear selector, and retains physical controls for the air conditioning and volume adjustments. The central screen does feel small next to the BMW and Tesla, and the software is not as advanced, but regardless, the technology levels are decent in the Hyundai. The IONIQ 6 has good use of space, including a storage area under the center console. Material quality in the IONIQ 6 is good, although it does have more hard-touch plastics than both the BMW and Tesla. The IONIQ 6's standard equipment is impressive, featuring Hyundai's advanced highway driving assist, head-up display, heated and ventilated seats, a 360-degree camera, heated steering wheel, ambient lighting, and a Bose premium audio system. In terms of practicality, the IONIQ 6 is good, with a class-leading front row and second row legroom of 45.4 inches and 34.7 inches. A shoulder room of 57.3 inches in the rear is best in class as well. In terms of cargo space, the IONIQ 6 has a trunk space of 11.2 cubic feet plus a tiny 0.5 cubic feet frunk. In terms of interiors, the best is the BMW i4, which feels more substantial and higher quality and offers more traditional controls, all while keeping a lot of modern technology features. In second place is the Hyundai. The IONIQ 6 has a well-thought-out cabin with a lot of standard features, good storage solutions, and retains physical controls for most essential car operations. However, the infotainment feels dated and the materials and trunk space are not the best. In last place is the Tesla. The Model 3 has good standard equipment and is fantastic in terms of practicality, but the removal of many essential controls and features in the name of minimalism makes the Model 3 frustrating to live with. In terms of drivetrains, the Tesla Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive has a single motor setup, producing 286 horsepower and 322 pound-feet of torque from an 82 kilowatt-hour battery. The Model 3 comes with fixed steel suspension with frequency-selective dampers. The long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 accelerates from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.9 seconds and achieves an EPA estimated range of 363 miles. A peak fast charge rate of 250 kilowatts allows the Model 3 to charge from 10 to 80% in around 30 minutes. The Model 3's native access to Tesla's supercharger network remains an advantage and a convenience for owners. The BMW i4 eDrive 40 has a single motor rear-wheel drive setup, producing 335 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque from an 81 kilowatt-hour battery. The i4 has fixed steel suspension and is optionally available with BMW's adaptive M suspension. The i4 accelerates from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.5 seconds and achieves an EPA estimated range of 318 miles. A peak fast charge rate of 205 kilowatts allows the i4 to charge from 10 to 80% in around 30 minutes. BMW owners will be able to gain access to Tesla's supercharger network starting in Q1 2025. The Hyundai IONIQ 6 rear-wheel drive has a single motor setup, producing 225 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque from a 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery. The IONIQ 6 also has fixed steel suspension with frequency-selective dampers. The Hyundai accelerates from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 6 seconds and achieves an EPA estimated range of 291 miles. A class-leading peak charge rate of 350 kilowatts thanks to support for the 800-volt architecture allows the IONIQ 6 to charge from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. Hyundai owners will also be able to gain access to Tesla's supercharger network starting in Q1 2025. In terms of drivetrains, the Tesla Model 3 is the best vehicle, with class-leading acceleration and EPA estimated range. Second place is the BMW, which also has decent range and acceleration and the highest horsepower of the group. In last is the Hyundai, which has class-exclusive support for 800-volt fast charging, but has the slowest acceleration, the lowest power outputs, and the lowest claimed range figure. In terms of driving experience, the new Model 3 is a very good vehicle to drive. The new suspension has resulted in a ride that is very plush, and especially at low speeds. There is a feeling of being isolated from the road. The car deals with bumps and undulations very well, feeling comfortable, composed, and sure-footed. Noise levels are also surprisingly low, thanks to the new acoustic glass all around the car. However, the regenerative braking is too strong at times, and it is annoying that it cannot be switched off. In terms of handling, the Model 3 feels very planted and flat through corners with only a little bit of body roll. But however, the Eco tires on the vehicle lack grip in corners. The traction control is invasive and cannot be adjusted, and the brakes are not the best either. Steering is quick and accurate, but lacks feel. The BMW i4 feels like a traditional BMW to drive. The steering has a nice weight, and the vehicle also feels substantial to drive with an isolated feeling. Noise levels are even lower than the Model 3 and corresponds to an impressively quiet vehicle. On the standard suspension, there is a little body roll in corners, but the vehicle remains fun to drive overall thanks to the better tires, brakes, and a more sports-oriented tune to the chassis compared to Model 3. With the optional adaptive M suspension, the car feels even more sporty and has even less body roll. The eDrive 40 model has more than enough power and has great response on the move. The Hyundai IONIQ 6 feels great to drive as well. The IONIQ 6 has well-controlled body motions and drives really well, with an assured feeling. With the same frequency selective dampers as the impressive IONIQ 5, the IONIQ 6 feels comfortable on normal roads, while offering surprisingly good handling through corners with a planted and stable feel and only a little bit of body roll in corners. The steering is decent, but is a little light. The 20-inch wheels and wide tires, combined with the ability to completely turn off regenerative braking and more relaxed traction control tuning, make a more settled and controlled experience through corners than the Model 3. Noise insulation is also slightly better than the Tesla, although it is not as quiet as the BMW. Despite the lower power outputs than the Tesla and BMW, the Hyundai still feels fast enough and responsive in the real world. In terms of driving experience, all three are very good vehicles to drive, making it hard to separate them. But the best vehicle to drive is the BMW, which is the quietest, rides very well, and still has a classic BMW rear-biased and sporty feel to the driving experience. In second place is the Hyundai, which also has a great ride and has a fun-to-drive feeling with good driving dynamics. In third place is the Tesla. The 2024 changes made to the Model 3 have transformed the way the vehicle drives, and it has an excellent ride and good body control, but ultimately the tires on the long-range model and some invasive electronics detract from the driving experience. Overall, which is the best electric sedan of the three? Personally, the best choice here is the BMW i4. The i4 looks and feels expensive inside and out, with excellent build quality and good technology. The BMW also feels the sportiest to drive, yet maintains a really good ride quality. However, the trunk space and range are not as good as the Tesla. In second place is the Hyundai. The IONIQ 6 is a very good EV with excellent standard features, the fastest charging speed of the three cars, and a good balance between ride and handling. However, the interior materials are not as good as the other two cars, and it achieves the lowest EPA estimated range. In third place is the Model 3. The Tesla combines amazing practicality with a good range of standard features, the highest range, the best acceleration, and a comfortable ride. It is, however, a shame that the interior feels so Spartan and the other two cars are slightly more fun to drive. So what do you guys think of this conclusion, and what are your thoughts on these three EVs? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, please like this video and subscribe to my channel to be the first to see more amazing content like this in the future. Cheers!